Hola, hola, amigas. Welcome to episode 50 of Modern Latina in Midlife podcast. Wow, what a ride it's been. It's been over 2 years and 50 episodes. So thank you for coming along for the ride. In today's episode, I'm sharing my story of how my life and specifically what I do for a living has evolved in the last couple of years as a result of trusting my intuition. A dear mentor, friend, and colleague, Jessica Rachel, interviewed me on her podcast, Intuition Activation, last week. That episode has not gone live yet, but we talked about my story and how much my business has changed as a result of following my soul path and purpose in the last couple of years. I realized at the end of the interview what a beautiful story I have. I decided it was time to share this part of my story with you to help you also discover how following your own intuition will guide you to a place where you are following your soul paths and purpose and feel 100% in alignment with your true authentic self, which is what I'm always striving to do with my clients. I think it's so important that we live from an authentic place, but most importantly, that we feel that we are living in true alignment with our soul's purpose and passion. So, first, I want you all to know that we all have the ability to tap into our intuition, our higher self, our guides for all the answers that we seek. We all have the ability to activate our intuition so it becomes stronger and we are truly in touch with what is best for us rather than seeking answers outside of us. Many of us do this. Many of us tend to seek answers outside of ourselves. We seek for approval from others and are indoctrinated to believe that what society and family expects from us is the only right way. But this is far from the truth. The colonial capitalist patriarchy wants us to believe this, and they have done a really great job at making that happen throughout the years. It's time that we start breaking out of this paradigm, embrace the divine feminine energy, and live the life that we are meant to. And so long as we continue to follow that indoctrinated belief and societal expectations and familial expectations, we're not truly honoring ourselves. So, how do you follow your intuition? How do you trust your intuition? It's as simple as starting to follow the breadcrumbs that are showing up in your life. So, let me start by sharing my story so I can better explain or illustrate what this might look like. A couple of years ago, I was working in my business. I have a virtual assistant and podcast production business, boutique agency. And I was in between projects, standing up here at my desk, and I heard a voice inside my head or outside of me out here. Can't even remember fully, but it was so clear that said to me, "You are meant for more." And I had already been feeling this nudge inside of me that there was something more out there for me, that beyond what I was doing in that moment, in those last 10 years, really, which I've been doing virtual assistant work and podcast production since 2014, 2015, around there. And so when I heard this voice, I just knew. I just knew that, okay, this voice was my higher self or God or my guides, angels, some higher being telling me it was time. And I said, okay, bring it on. What's next? Tell me, show me the way. Shortly thereafter, I'm going to say probably within days, 2, 3 days, I saw a coaching program pop up on my Instagram feed from a former client that I had worked with. And I decided she was doing a free workshop. And I had a feeling that this was leading into her coaching program, but I thought that sounded interesting to me at the time. I had come across it a few months earlier and thought it was interesting. So in that moment, I said, I'm signing up for this free workshop. I'm going to see what this is about because I felt this kind of joy, a little spark inside that was like, ooh, this sounds interesting. And so I said, in that moment, I said yes to myself. I said, let's go take a look at this. Let's open this door. And so I went to the workshop, and sure enough, that led into the program. And I signed up and I was in, and I just felt really lit up by this opportunity, the possibility of helping and guiding people to help them transform their lives. And so I went through the training program, and in this training program, I met through this coaching program, I met Jessica Rachel, the spiritual medium and psychic who interviewed me last week on her podcast. And the very first thing that came out of her mouth when she started channeling my spirit guides was, oh, she said, you're a healer. And I thought, oh boy. I'd been doing energy healing years prior, I think starting 2018, 2019. And I kind of just stopped doing that. Like in 2022, uh, I just thought, people aren't very well accepting of this. Maybe it was my own projection of my own insecurity. But I had decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. I was going to do a quote unquote normal thing, a normal job, do normal things for a living. And coaching is like so big and growing. It's such a growing industry. I thought, oh, this is great. And so when she said you're a healer, you're supposed to be doing energy healing in your coaching sessions, I was like, what? This is not what I wanted to hear. Um, and so the other thing that came up in this session was that I've been a healer for many lifetimes, but many, many lifetimes ago, I was this head healer in this village, and I would teach all the younger girls how to become healers and use plant medicine and just heal with energy and herbs and things like that. And I was really, really good at what I did. But I had a daughter in that lifetime, and she became ill and she passed away. And it was a very emotional moment in this session because we did a past life regression session within this session with Jessica Rachel. And so she took me to that lifetime to find where this imposter syndrome came from. And the reason why we did that is because I was like, well, I don't, I know I do energy healing, but I don't know about it. I was in my head about it. I was, having imposter syndrome about it. And so she said, okay, let's go find out where this imposter syndrome was developed. And it was in that lifetime because my daughter in that lifetime passed away. I felt like, well, who am I to be teaching all these girls like how to become healers if I couldn't even save my own daughter? And so that's where that happened for me. It was very emotional in that session. I was sobbing, and so we healed that, and I overcame that. And so basically that's when you go and put awareness, shine awareness on those issues, if you will, in past lifetimes, and you start to heal that. So we healed that in that lifetime for this lifetime. And then she went to tell me, or my guides mentioned or told me through her that I'm here to help women start their, spiritual or service-based or soul-based businesses, and to help them to follow their intuition. And I'm going to do this in coaching sessions in combination with energy healing and intuition and channeling spirit guides. And I just thought, okay, this just sounds nuts. I mean, wow, amazing. Sounds beautiful, but like, how do I even start doing that now? Like, I was going through the coaching program at the time, and I went in to find out who my client was going to be from my spirit guides, what kind of a coach I was going to be. So for them to tell me this really threw me off, off the loop. It's just like, this sounds insane. And so she gave me some tips of what I should start doing, and just kind of start practicing your energy healing, start practicing the channeling, and just practicing with like maybe some of the other ladies in the cohort, in the coaching cohort, and just kind of start practicing some of this stuff. Maybe don't put it out there to like the consumers yet, or promote myself like that until I feel better, and more. I put it into practice more, and feel more confident about it. So that's what I started doing. I started listening. And the thought of what she was telling me that I was here to do sounded really, really exciting. But I was like, well, who am I to be doing this? So I slowly started incorporating some of that into my coaching and into practicing with the other ladies in my cohort. And the more that started to come alive and started to feel good, and I started to gain confidence around it. And then I started weaving it into my program, and making it just really part of my coaching method. This coaching skills with intuitive guidance, and spirit guide channeling and energy healing. It's all a part of my coaching method now. But that's how that began. And then as soon as I was finishing up that coaching program, and then Jessica Rachel announced that she was going to have an intuitive mastery 12-week program to learn to tap into your intuition and channel with your spirit guides and channel for other people. And I thought, I mean, my heart just lit up. I was like, well, if I'm supposed to be doing this in my coaching, then this is a great way for me to get better at it and practice with other people who are also channeling. So I took her coaching program. It was just like I just started following those little breadcrumbs of, "Ooh, this brings me joy. This makes me feel excited." That I just started kind of opening that door. I'm like, let me see what might look like, and let me see what this might look like. And there were other things that I looked into that I was like, no, close that door. That wasn't really what I thought it was going to be. Once I learned further about these other programs that I looked into, I was like, no, that not that. But Jessica Rachel's program, and definitely called uh piqued my interest. So I signed up for that. That was a 12-week program. And so, in the process, I finished the coaching program, and I was in Jessica Rachel's intuitive mastery program, and I launched my coaching business and started getting a few clients here and there. And ironically, the women who were coming to me, yes, needed help unblocking and needed help getting unstuck, but they also wanted help either starting or growing their business, or support in their business. And so it was really interesting that that is who I was attracting, given that my guides had just told me via Jessica Rachel that I was supposed to be helping women in their businesses. So that slowly started working its way in that way. That just naturally started happening that way. And I very much welcome that. So, I was promoting myself as helping women go through transitions and transformations, but also on the side, also, if you have a business, then I can help you with that as well. So, kind of two ways, right? Your personal life and in your business. So shortly after that, um, I reconnected with the former client. And she's a coach and therapist, and she has a coaching program where she certifies people who come into her program to become life coaches. And she's very much into all the woo-woo and energy healing and all these different methods and healing modalities. And so we reconnected and I told her, hey, this is, we connected to just catch up. She reached out to me. She's like, you've been on my mind lately. Let's catch up. Let me know, what are you working on? What are you up to? And I hadn't been in touch with her since like 2019. And so we got on the phone and chatted, and I just shared with her everything I've been doing. Well, I became a coach and I'm doing this intuitive mastery program. And she was like, oh my gosh, you got to come join me in my coaching program. I would love for you to come and help me with the coaches that are going to start the certification program and help me run the program and help me with my business and ideas. And so I joined her. It was a really, really great opportunity. And I just felt it in my body right here. I just felt it in my like gut and my heart. I felt the excitement. I just felt lit up and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this sounds like a hell yes." And I even told her, "Okay, I'm going to think about this." And since I was already going through Jessica Rachel's program, I like channeled my spirit guides. I called them in. I meditated. It didn't take long before they were like, "Yes, girl, this is what you're supposed to be doing." So I accepted. I started working with her and I started running the business portion of her coaching program. Like how beautifully serendipitous is that? And in the process of coaching with these coaches, helping them with the business side of things, I was so lit up and I started receiving such great feedback and compliments from the people that were going through this coaching program. And they just liked how simple I made things sound and how simplified I was able to train them and guide them through all parts of basically starting a coaching business from scratch. They were learning the coaching skills from, my client, but they were learning the business and the things from me. And that was exciting and that was really fun. And because I started getting all these compliments and all this great feedback from them, I decided, wow, this is, I just started feeling like this is something I want to do. Like the coaching program ended, they graduated, and I was left wanting more. I'm like, oh, I was used to teaching several classes a week, several business classes a week, everything from, your website to your lead magnets and funnels and online courses. And I just was left wanting more. So I thought, you know what? I think I want to start a group coaching program to help women start their businesses, like a coaching business or a VA business, a service provider business, a spiritual, intuitive business, service-based businesses like this. And I thought it really excited me because I had had this thought back in 2020 and I started writing out my outline. And halfway through writing out the outline for the program, I shut my laptop and said, no, who do I think I am to be doing this? That was 2020. And that was imposter syndrome coming in going, who do you think you are to be running a program like this? Right. And never looked at it again. So this came up for me again this past fall after the coaches graduated from this coaching program. And it came up and I thought, you know what? It's time. It's time. That thought came into my head. I said, I think it's time to do this. Like I started writing notes and just writing some ideas and brainstorming. I wrote a quick little outline, just real quick to kind of start putting things in paper. And it just really felt really exciting. And like this was going to be my next step. Well, right around that time, I had another session with Jessica Rachel scheduled. I like to schedule one big session with her every year just to kind of like stay aligned. And really because when I connect with my own spirit guides, sometimes I want things to happen so badly that I'm not sure if the messages I'm receiving are truly what I'm hearing from them, or is because this is what's on my mind, and I really want it to be this way. So I have my sessions with her, and really honestly, when I have sessions with her, it's really almost just confirmation that what I'm thinking is correct. And she helps me out with a little bit more of the details. But when we channeled, she channeled for me. She called in my spirit guides for me. This was this past fall. She said to me that what I'm supposed to be doing is business group coaching program. And I just, my jaw dropped because I was like, this is exactly what I've been thinking about doing. And I've already started to write out my notes and brainstorm. So it was like serendipitous. It was just like confirmation, basically, that what I was following, those breadcrumbs of excitement, those little thoughts that would pop into my head, I was just starting to follow them. I was just starting to like act on them, to explore, to open that door and continue walking through until it opened up wider or the door shut and I was like, no, 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 I don't want to go this way. But it offered me at least the opportunity to explore and say, no, 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 this isn't it. Let me try going out, opening this other door instead. So it's just taking that next step to see where that's going to guide me. So about a week later, I went to uh, an event put on by We All Grow Latina. It was called Amigas in Business. And I went, and my friend who's been on the podcast, Ana Lilia, was there. And she's an intuitive. She's a coach, but she's an intuitive. And we were in conversation, and she says to me, have you ever thought about doing a group coaching program? And I was like, oh my gosh. My spirit guides were basically being relentless. They're like, if you're not going to listen the first time, I'm going to give you reasons not to, to ignore this. I'm going to give you reason not to ignore this, to make it incredibly clear that this is what you're supposed to doing. And I just said, oh my gosh, yes, I have. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, I'm thinking about it and I'm looking into it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in that moment, I said, you know what? I gotta go. I was with my friend Ana Lilia, and I said, you know what? I gotta go. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. I gotta go because I was meeting up with my friend Jasmine, Esoteric Esta, because she was doing 15-minute, 2025 forecast sessions, astrology sessions. And I said, I got my appointment with Jasmine. I gotta go. So I went over to have my appointment with Jasmine, and she looks through my birth chart, my business birth chart, and starts reading it. She's like, you're supposed to be doing business coaching and you're supposed to be doing this in groups. And I just thought, okay, I hear you, spirit guides. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I'm doing this. And as soon as I had a chance, I wrote out the outline for my program. It's a 12-week program and that I'm building right now as we speak, as a matter of fact, and came up with titles for it, came up with the name and just started working on it. And I'm building that out right now. It's no easy task. I can tell you that much, but it's been really, really enjoyable. And so here I am. Here I am now building my Launch Your Soul-based business group coaching program, which I plan on launching in February in this group coaching program for 12 weeks. And I can tell you that I am so lit up by it. It feels 1,000% in alignment with my soul path and purpose because it lights me up inside. It makes me feel so good every time I sit down to work on my outline, to work on, my script for my videos, to work on the modules, to work on the worksheets. I am lit up. There are days that I say, gosh, I wish I didn't have all this other work to do so that all I could do was build out this program. But the reality is that I have to continue working in my uh, VA and podcast production business. And, I'm still working with, my other client um, in her business. And it's all exciting stuff, and I love it all, but this is how I know that I'm on the right path is when things feel like they just light me up, like I would do this for free, then I know it's for me. It lights me up. It makes me feel excited. And I know that I'm on the right path. I feel it in my bones. And all I did was follow the breadcrumbs that were showing up in my life. From listening to that voice that told me you are meant for more, to taking the coaching program, and then my session with Jessica Rachel, and then signing up for her intuitive mastery program, and then attending the Amigas in Business event, and signing up for my session with Jasmine and talking to my friend Ana Lelia. All these little things are just little breadcrumbs that I kept following. And there were things that I looked into, like I mentioned, that I was like, yeah, no, that didn't sound so great. Thank you. Next. So following what felt good on my body and what felt like a hell yes to me, following the things that excite me, the breadcrumbs of joy that are showing up for you. That's how you follow your intuition. Those breadcrumbs of joy, the moments of joy that are showing up for you, those are your spirit guides, your higher self, God, your intuition telling you that that is meant for you. So follow it. Follow those breadcrumbs, follow those moments of joy, and see where it takes you one step at a time. Your intuition talks to you in whispers and little breadcrumbs of joy. It rarely comes in as a huge download and lays out the entire plan or what you're supposed to do all in one big swoop. That rarely happens. It happens for some people, but it usually just gives you the next step that you need to follow that will lead you to the next step and to the next step. So it's not going to show you the entire staircase. It's going to show you one step at a time what you need to do. Your job is to follow those breadcrumbs when they show up. If you see a program or a class show up and it sounds interesting, look into it and register for it. Explore what interests you. Read a book about it. Or if you see a book title that sounds interesting, pick it up and read it. There may be something in there that sparks an idea or teaches you something or opens up the door for something else. Talk to someone about your interests. Talk to someone about a curiosity you might have or something you might want to explore. If you start wondering how an old friend is doing, like if a friend pops up into your mind, call them up, send them a message. They're usually popping in your head because you need to get in touch with them for whatever reason. Maybe you just need to check in on them. Maybe it's because they have something to share with you. Sometimes our intuition wants us to connect with someone who might have something to share with us or has a collaboration to invite us to be a part of. It's just following those little breadcrumbs of joy, those little nudges of intuition. They're little whispers. Just start listening to them. And the more you start following those breadcrumbs and listening, the more you will see and hear the messages and start trusting your intuition. The more you start following them, the more you'll start noticing them. The louder they get, the clearer they get. And then you start following them and you start to realize, oh, wow, I listened to that and that worked out in my favor. I got to listen more. I got to act on it more. And that's how you start to activate your intuition, to listen to your intuition, and to trust your intuition. You're not listening to this episode by coincidence. This message is for you, and I'm so glad that you're here. But I want to know now, what will you do with this? I challenge you to start paying attention to those breadcrumbs of joy that start showing up every single day, to those moments of joy, to your intuition for the next week, and see where that starts taking you. Send this episode to an amiga that could benefit from hearing this message. I hope that you have found this helpful. I hope that you truly start to pay attention to those little nudges of interest that start coming in and following those little breadcrumbs one at a time. They're little steps. It doesn't have to be scary. They're tiny little steps of exploration that come in. It doesn't have to be life-changing one at a time, but little by little, one breadcrumb at a time can be life-changing, and your intuition does not lie to you. Thank you so much for being here and for the love you have been showing me on the podcast. Our reach is definitely growing, and I appreciate you very much for that. Please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you've enjoyed this episode. And don't forget to share it with an amiga so that they too can start to follow their own intuition and what truly lights them up. Hasta la próxima.